All right, man. So obviously we have big news. We have a blockbuster trade when it comes to, what happened last night. Obviously the draft was last night and, it was a lot of things happening. Wolves dropped a hella bomb right before the draft or like right as the draft was upcoming. I think the draft was just starting or no, right before it was starting. I think during when it started, something like that. Regardless, they made a big trade, which is, let me read the actual trade details. With the Westbrook trade, obviously, let's go into it. Let's look. Yeah, so the Lakers basically they traded for Russell Westbrook, a 2024 second round pick and a 2028 second round pick from the Washington Wizards. And they gave up Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and the number 22 pick, which ended up being Isaiah Jackson. And that was the trade. And the only reason this trade was able to happen, that's what they said, is basically that, Harrell exercised his $9.7 million option. Remember, he signed a 2-year deal, and I think one was, a player option, obviously. So 1 and 1, a 1+1. And, he decided to opt in. He could have entered and been a free agent. If he decided to be a free agent, he would have debunked all of that shit. They wouldn't be able to do nothing, right? But obviously, he didn't have the greatest season with the Lakers in terms of, just elevation where it's like, okay, he's a hot commodity. He has to bet on himself again. So he has to opt into that 9.7 mil and then bet on himself, hope for a great season, and then now demand more. So that's the trajectory he's playing. And it's funny how his best season in the 6-man year, he didn't capitalize to the full extent and decided to go with obviously winning a ring. He tried to play the short-term game instead of the long-term game, and it might come back to bite him. You never know. But anyways, it's not about Trez. It's about, obviously the Lakers, and they made that trade. Now they have their own big three. They have Bron, AD, and Westbrook, the Brody, right? So the Bron, the Brow, and Brody. So when you look at it from that perspective, on paper, it sounds great. On paper, it sounds elite. It's like trio. My goodness. Now you got the Lakers trio, obviously with Bron. Yeah, eventually was going to get a super team. I already knew it. It's Bron. Like, he's had super team wherever he's been except for just with the Lakers. He hasn't had one yet. And eventually he was going to get one. You thought he would get one with the Cavs. He'll get one with Miami. He won't get one with LA. I already knew he'll get one with LA. It was just a matter of time. But it depends who you get one with, right? And he has one with Westbrook. He previously had one with, obviously, Kyrie himself and K-Love. Then he obviously had one before with the Heat, with Wade, Bosh, and himself as well. So he's always had big threes for a minute, right? And so when you look at it from that perspective, man, like, I knew they were going to have a big three, and what inspired them and forced them to actually go for this big three, because this is a team that won the ring in the bubble. They probably feel that bubble shit was capped. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, they're not going to ever say it, but, the way they were splashing threes and the way they were doing that, and then obviously you see injuries happen with Phoenix, and, even without the injuries, the fact that they weren't splashing threes and it was just a struggle, they shrunk the floor on LeBron so much. That's why it's like, why you get Westbrook? But anyways, they shrink the LeBron on LeBron so much and shrink the floor on LeBron so much and all that type of stuff. And, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, they see now what's happening in the East with the Nets. The fact that KD by himself, because we don't even count Harden, he was on one leg, and there was no Kyrie, by himself pushed the champions that end up being the Milwaukee Bucks to 7 games. And basically he was a toe away from going and from beating them. That shows you how scary this Nets team, because you saw them at fully strength, even not fully strength, at least 2 of them fully there. You saw the blowouts they did in games 1 and 2, right? So it's like injuries really derailed the Nets. Injuries really changed everything, and they're only going to come back healthy. Now you got a glimpse of what elite looks like, and you're like, man, if they weren't scared, they're even more scared, because they would even probably get a little bit better. They might trade DeAndre Jordan. They might do a 1-2. Like, you never know. But regardless, most of the times, you get better as time goes on, right? Who's more so do we keep, who do we not keep, all that type of stuff. And when you look at it from that perspective, man, like, this is something where they obviously had to, match the Nets' firepower, try and match them, try and create a big three of their own if they want to get out the West, if they want to get to, the promised land and win another ring and have Bron have his 5th ring, right? And obviously, when you look at it, you want a big three, and you've seen what didn't work. Obviously, they've been waiting for the day to trade Kyle Kuzma, and it's not that Kyle Kuzma's fugazi. I'm just being honest. Bron does this to a lot of players. They did this to Ingram, did this to Lonzo, did this to Jay Crowder, did this to so many of these guys, Jordan Clarkson. So many of these guys, it's like you're making a shot creator be a spot up, and it's like it's not going to always work for everybody. Like, you're hindering man. So once they leave, they get back into their bag and they're enabled, and it's a different situation, and they know Brandon Ingram becomes an all-star, right? Lonzo Ball revamps himself as well too. There's so many guys. Jordan Clarkson wins 6th Man of the Year. You know, there's so many guys that, like, you know, you have to just pay attention to the you know, kind of like who's been with Bron and how they looked individually, how they roasted them. Rodney Hood the year after is killing with Portland, right, in the playoffs, right? So there's so many guys that can go down the list where they roasted and they killed them when they were playing with Bron, and then now it's like they've had a resurgence, you know, put themselves back on the map and all that type of stuff. People are shocked or kind of like, why don't they play better without LeBron? There's a reason. This is not coincidence. I can go down the list. I'm not going to do it and make it about that, but you just have to open up your eyes. Open up your eyes and understand, you know what I'm saying? Understand the game and wake up and smell the coffee at the end of the day. So when you look at it, Westbrook, Bron, and AD is a trio on paper that looks elite, but for me, it's like, out of all the big threes you could have got, I honestly think this is the worst one. People are trying to compare this to, you know, Westbrook playing with, Bron playing with Wade. And this is where I like to do context and just do breakdowns, and let's, you know, combat IQ with IQ, and let's just talk about it, right? When you look at it, with Wade wasn't this slasher period. Like, Wade would slash, but he was a shot creator. He had a midi bag. He would post up. You know what I mean? He'll do his random cuts. But a lot of, like, he was a shot creator. He didn't have to get bare points in the paint. He'll get it off random cuts. But a lot of the times he's shot creating. He's killing. Like, Wade was more equivalent to, obviously not how Kyrie scored, but that scorer, closer guy, that was what Wade was. That's what Kyrie was. That's what AD was, right? With the Lakers, original, even in the bubble when you saw that. So, you know, you look at it from that perspective, this is the dynamic people aren't going to take in, and they're not going to, it's like their brains don't even go down that far and actually just look at these things logically in terms of, like, play style. And I always say play style is everything. It's not just about the names. It's not just about all of that, right? Harden, KD, and Kyrie obviously work because even though it's the names that make them star-studded and a big three and it's elite, their ability, when you look at KD and Kyrie, they're unlimited. They could play like a Corver if they want, just coming off pin downs or coming off screens. They could play like an ISO guy, just killing you on the perimeter. They could play up in the post and killing you on the perimeter or in a block. They could kill you from anywhere you want it. How do you want it? No screen, bare screens, don't matter. You know what I mean? It's just they put buckets on a platter. So when you look at it from that perspective, obviously, you know, on paper, the Lakers look great. But when you look at the play style wise, Westbrook and Bron are the same players. And people have been saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know basketball. If you really know basketball, you know they're the same players. Bron is the better version, but they're the same prototype, the same body. It's just Westbrook is LeBron in a point guard version. 6'4", like he's the same thing. Bully to the paint, use athleticism, blow by, go to the paint, OD. Only shoot a shot here and there if they sag off. It's not like you're just bare shot creating, step back, spin shots, shimmies. You know what I mean? You only do it when you're feeling nice and you're comfortable. But most of the times, it's all blow by to the paint, get into the paint, and shooting the sagged off shot here and there when you get it and making it. And that's what Westbrook's game literally is, to the point that man's have Rudy Gobert guarding him so they can just sag off and try and contain him running downhill, right? You have obviously Bron, doing what he's doing, and it's like they're the exact same player. They're the exact same player. Westbrook is a triple-double, Mr. Triple-Double, and LeBron gets bare triple-doubles, but he doesn't, you know what I mean? He doesn't, like, when you look at just both of them just in their play styles, like, when you look at it, it's like they're the same type of play style, but Bron has more of the IQ, more of the intangibles, more of the great decision-making, time clock and score, X, Y, and Z. You know how to feed this guy. Even his passes are in pocket. They're not like low passes like Westbrook sometimes, out of the pocket for sussing man's rhythm, etc. But again, that's why I said Bron is the better version of him, but their play style prototype is literally the same. So you have two men that are literally the same, entering a team. Not only that, you break the AD dynamic, right? And I'm just looking at this from a logical standpoint, right? I'm not saying they're not going to win regular season games and they're not going to be a top seed and they're not going to be nice. They're going to have explosiveness. They're going to have power. They're going to kill you in transition. The minute they get a steal, like they're going to, bro, it's like the Heat killed you in transition. And, you know, maybe Westbrook, Bron in transition are going to be hella elite. You never know. But the point is, you get what I'm saying? The point is the AD dynamic might change because, remember, Wade and Bron together, they still had a Bosh spacing out, sacrificing, not going to the post, high post, mid post. If you watch him in Toronto, a lot of post up game. He didn't establish that or do it as much, rarely, you know what I mean, in when he went to the Heat. So when you look at it from that perspective, mans have to sacrifice, and it was fortunate enough that Wade was in a number 2 role. Imagine he was in a number 3 role, a role where it's at any given night could be one of us, right? Like the Wade, like the Harden, Kyrie and KD. When you look at it from that perspective, right? Basically, they're not in, you know, Bron. When you have AD and when you had K-Love, when you had Bosh back then, they're not in that type of situation, right? They're not in that type of situation. Now, what's more, what AD now was a second option. So AD being a second option, right, with the Lakers, especially like a 1A, 1B, sometimes it's a 1A, he's a focal point. When you look at it, it's like, dog. Now you add the Westbrook dynamic, 2 ball handlers. AD is going to actually get sussed and get, you know, sacrificed the most probably out of all of them, because now, even though you still give it to him, whatever the case is, like, Bron and Westbrook are going to be spotting up. It was already bad just Bron spotting up and some non-shooters spotting up, forcing the shooters to shoot, and they don't make it. But now you're going to have Westbrook spotting up, mans who they sag off this guy, mans who they didn't even guard, that they put a center on him to guard him when he has the ball so you could just guard him in the paint. That's what mans was doing. So it's like, you're really going to have that guy in one corner or off the ball or spacing out, spotting up, and you're going to have Bron off the ball, spaced out and spotting up. You know, and Bron, is not going to, like, that AD's dynamic might change. AD eating, AD doing exactly what he was doing might change now, because he was not going to be the focal point of all of this. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to be. There's no way he's going to be. So now he might resort to being a better version of Kevin Love, a better version of Bosh, where he kind of, you know, takes a backseat because he has to space out to give these guys elite room. And now he's so far out that now he's going to catch and shoot, do his 1-2 bag, and that's it. He might not be posting up OD. He might, because mans could double off of Westbrook. Mans could do, like, there's so many things you could do. So it's like, when you look at it, that's the reasons why I don't like this trade in terms of just the fit. Like, Bron and literally Westbrook are the same play styles. Like, they don't, man, they're not just catching and shooting, getting bagged. Like, they're not doing that. It's the same type of reluctant, relentless, paint, shoot here and there when you sag off. And that's literally what they do. So when you look at it, man, it's like, honestly, you know, the trade sounds great. And I'm happy that at least, you know, it's not just, oh my God, the Nets are the only super team. Like, there's another one. So, you know, it's going back to the Golden State Cavs type of rivalry, type of, you know what I mean? And you have the best players, part of that big three. So, like, you know, you're going to have the best players always guarding each other, playing, facing each other at hand. So, you know, when you look at it from that perspective, it kind of creates this energy where it's Nets, Lakers, Nets, Lakers, Nets, Lakers. And you obviously love it just for basketball in general. But, you know, at the end of the day, this fit is horrendous. I don't think it's going to work to the magnitude of playoffs, killing, and winning a ring. Obviously, it might work in regular season because you get away with it. But when mans is scouting you, and mans are going to force you to these weaknesses, force you to do these things because of, you know, Westbrook and Bron are the same guys. They don't just play off ball and kill when they're playing off ball. So when you look at it from that perspective, man, like, you know, obviously, I just don't like this fit at all. I don't like it at all. I don't like it. It clashes. And, you know, like, you know, obviously, the thing is, too, there was other pieces on the table, like a Buddy Hield to probably fit perfectly. So you have an unlimited guy, part of the trio dynamic that, you know, he will be willing or be okay with just shooting, just generic, you know, type of, like having an unlimited trio member. you know, as a big three in terms of like a Buddy Hield, or, you know, that's what they were talking about, or a Bradley Beal or a Dame Lillard, even though it's not necessarily being ball dominant. Ball dominant is not necessarily the issue. I know Mans will find a way to make it work. It is an issue, but it's not necessarily. What's an issue is the, you know, the fit. The fit is the main issue. You know, the fact that these guys are unlimited and they're shooters, right? They're shooters and stuff like that, right? This, like, they can get the ball. Ball dominance not being an issue. If you're unlimited, you're going to get the ball being in the right spot. The ball will gravitate towards you and you kill in those small windows because of, you know, that of what's at hand. But when you look at it, you have two non-shooters and you have them come together. That, like, this is to me the worst fit possible. And I actually thought it wasn't gonna even fall through. I didn't think they were maybe being serious. I even thought it was a joke at first, because I'm like, Westbrook and Bron, like, what? That's the same guy, just 6'4". It's the same guy. Just take in their takes. Just go. I dare you to go just watch highlights and just see. It's the same guy. They're the same guy. So getting a Hield, you know, getting a Dame, getting a Beal, like that's what you thought was gonna be okay. Super team versus super team. Who do you got? Toss it in the air. This I don't even like. Come on now. I don't like. It's no knock against Westbrook. It's just his play style. This is just who he is, and this is just his play style. So, you know, we'll obviously see, you know, how things obviously, you know, fully transpire. But obviously, you know, it's great news for the NBA. Great drama filled and all that type of stuff. People didn't like it. It's funny how the same people hated, oh my God, you have a super team for the Nets and da-da-da-da-da, with KD and bashing him, are the same ones loving every super team that Bron created. People forget that Bron tried to have Kawhi be a super team. But Kawhi said no. If it wasn't for Kawhi, he would have had a super team, and everybody else has duels, and again, he has an advantage like he did with the Heat. That's what Bron is trying to do. Like, he's just a smart guy. Don't praise it when it's LeBron and be okay with it when it's LeBron, but then hate on it when it's KD. Like, you don't, like, it's funny, man. It's just funny how these guys work, meeting or whatever, and just trolls and, you know, fans, how casual fans and all. It's just funny how they work. But at the end of the day, we'll see how this transpires. I think that there's going to be some type of detriment, just play style wise. I don't see how this fit works, man. I'm just using, like, it's not even like it's hella IQ. It's just hard. It's just hard for me to believe that a Westbrook Bron team will work. Like, Bron just spotting up in the corner, chilling like all day, every day. Like, Westbrook just chilling. Like, come on now. I dare AD to go off. I dare Bron to go off with they're sagging off Westbrook. We're going to help off him, and he going to stay corner, and we going, you know what I mean? We're going to shrink the floor. Like, but we're not going to get into those nitty-gritty talks. We'll see how it pans out. I think that they'll be solid, right? But playoffs is a whole different dynamic. The game slows down. Everything is different. So we'll see how that goes, man. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, it's TRU Talks, because TRU Talks. Share, like, and subscribe. You know what I mean? Comment, obviously, in the comment section what y'all think. Let me know. You know, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Like I said, share, like, and subscribe. We out here. There's no doubt here. There's no drought here. You know, let them know when I'm here, because I'm here. That's why you got to click the notification button, so you know when I'm here, because I'm here. You feel me? I appreciate y'all. That's what it really looks like, man. Here goes the free agency, or the summer league, the NBA, the rookie, the trade frenzy. All that frenzy happens around the same time. So we'll see how it transpires, man. You already know. I appreciate y'all. And I'm out, man.